This is the Muddy Waters podcast. This is a special edition with investigative reporter TheUnquirer. I don't know if you're actually an investigative reporter, but you do a lot of investigation. You find stuff on the internet and push it out there into social media. We're doing this little special edition. I think we're going to make this a weekly thing if the world works the way that we hope. And part of the purpose I think today is to I think have a conversation about ways in which people can get involved in helping, helping. I guess really a big part of it is winning the information war. Like, obviously, we know that the mainstream media is aggressively pumping information at us and trying to make us believe like things that aren't true are true, right? The mainstream media is a propaganda arm of the left, essentially, is the way that I'm trying to say. And in order to be able to win back Maine, we need to get better at having conversations with people, both online and in person. Unquirer here or Richard, can we call you Richard?
Yeah.
Is an expert in how to make noise and helping us win the information war in social media. We definitely need people to run for office, get involved, volunteer for campaigns, get involved in committees and stuff like that. But there's stuff that you can do. Shouldn't be the only thing that you do. I just want to make sure I highlight that. But there is stuff that you can do from home through social media, and then also just having conversations with your friends and neighbors. If there's one thing that I keep saying, and I'll just keep saying it, which is that we need to have civil discourse in order to be able to take back our state. If we don't have, there is not in some other states where all you need to do is get conservatives and get Republicans out to vote, and they can win elections. That's not the case here in the state of Maine. We have more, despite the wonderful and lovely Bobby Charles's assertion that 85% of Maine is with us. It's just not the reality. The reality is there are more people who do not believe in conservative ideology and do actually buy into the liberal ideology, that in order for us to be able to make a change here, we need to have conversations with people and show them the way out of the insane Marxism that they've bought into.
Do you have the ability to play Hannah Pingree's new advertising ad?
Is it? Ad? Can you see there should be a computer screen button beneath? It looks with an arrow up. You don't see that?
No, I do. Can you share the screen? Can you do a third screen? You want to watch it and just react to it?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So can you go on to Facebook and play it?
Yeah. Send me the link and then I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. So I think part of what we're going to be doing here is kind of showing you how you can use the information, some of the things that Unquirer has been doing to go after people on the other side that are running for office and are trying to ruin our state. So I think part of countering their arguments is overwhelming them in social media.
Okay, let's see.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm going to send it right over to you right now.
Okay, cool. While I pull that up, you want to talk about something?
Yeah, so I was just thinking, I think we've all been thinking about it. The summer's over and we're getting closer to, the governorship's coming up, the race. We have this weird hodgepodge group between X and Facebook and other places. And everyone keeps asking me, should our target, our goal be to turn Maine red? Should we take all of our energy, all of our activism and all of our effort and do the school board stuff? Should we just help the GOP try to win this? And just because we always complain about we have Janet Mills and we have Shanna Bellows and the Democrats are there. Should it not be our job, at least in the digital realm, for us just to focus 100% on honing our skills and trying to take down our opponents? And I've been asking myself that for probably about a week or two. Do I just keep posting about different articles, or do I just sit there, keep doing that a little bit, or try to organize and get behind a candidate when one wins a primary and help them win this race? Because it is pretty damn important. If we could turn Maine red, that would just send shockwaves throughout the state. Should we do that? You, me, everyone that's involved on here, Is that what we should do? Like, is it almost hypocritical if we end up just being on the sidelines and not just going all in and trying to fight this?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that I talk about, or we talk. I guess it's me talking about this a lot of my podcasts. Is like we're in a state in our world where the Democrat Party is just unpalatable, right? Like they don't have any answer. They have problems that they can present as supposed solutions to the problems that exist, but their supposed solutions, just make things worse. And so, maybe you're out there and you're like, I don't completely align with the Republican Party. Well, here's the reality: neither do I. I am the chair of the Cumberland County Republicans, and I have run for office as a Republican 2 cycles in a row for state house. But the reality is, like, before I made the decision to run, I was not a registered Republican. I was registered unenrolled. Because I think, like many people, I understand the sentiment that like neither one of the parties really represents the average person. And I think like some of that I think has changed in Donald Trump's Republican Party, because like, this is why he's won over the working class. But one of the things that was talked about, we had Jason Savage on the podcast last week, and we talked about the fact that like there are a lot of people that didn't vote down ballot. They just voted for president. And like, for instance, in Austin, Ontario, up in northern Maine, over 10,000 people just didn't vote for anybody for Congress, which largely is the reason that Jared Golden is representing up there. And there are a lot of people up there that like Jared Golden. I think he's like a chameleon. I think he's really great at saying the right things at the right time, but I don't think he really cares about the people of Maine. I think, but anyway, to kind of like continue along. So there are a lot of people that are voting for Trump, but in the working class that are not voting for other people. And when Trump's not on ballots, a lot of people don't show up to vote. And I think that like, I understand not having as much love for like the main GOP. They've not done a great job, I think, endearing themselves to people, which is why one of the reasons I wanted to have Jason on the podcast, to give more people an opportunity to kind of know who he is, because I think a lot of people are like, who is this guy? What are they even doing? And we don't know. And I think there was communication related issues there. And part of the reason the main GOP hired a communications director to improve the situation, to do a better job of communicating out to people. But regardless, there's love for Trump, but there's not a lot of love for the GOP, whether it's national or local in my town or here in the state. However, like, one of the reasons that you would get motivated to like get involved and try to help Republicans win is because the Democrats have gone crazy, right? Like, is that not enough motivation to say that like they want to trans kids, like they are, destroying our economic situation, like healthcare in Maine? I think the health insurance is about to rise by 30%. Energy, I think year over year is up 38%. Home prices have gone insane. We're giving away so much of our state to people who have come into this country illegally. And like, do we need more motivation? It would be great, I think, if the main GOP and Republican candidates did a better job communicating to the people what they stand for and why they should get involved. But like, in order for us to get involved and get out there and do something, do we actually really need more? Or is not the threat of the insanity of the left enough to motivate you to say, you know what, the main GOP may not be perfect, but we need to at least oust the Democrats right now, and hold them accountable for the insanity that they're bringing on our state.
So, but to my question though, should we?
My answer is yeah.
Yeah, and I'm getting questions from a lot. No, I love it. I love that you're saying yes, because I'm getting questions. We have a lot of like people in our movement that's between X and Facebook, people online, offline, digital realm, real realm. And this summer, I think a lot of people are kind of like, okay, is it time? Do we just try to go all in? Do we use all our social media accounts, our influence? It should, because I know we have school board, we have city councils. We obviously want to try to win these races and do that, but should our primary focus, should we all unify and just try to flip Maine red? We kind of owe this to the people. Like, we've been talking about this for like 2 years online. Like, we've been just complaining and bitching about Janet Mills and all the Democrats. Like, we probably should just be like, okay, let's do it. And if we lose, we lose, but at least we try for it. And I think we have to. We owe it to everyone that's been watching us and following us, and we should put 100% of our energy into winning this and just making sure a fake independent or a Democrat doesn't get in there.
Yeah,
Or,
no.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of one of those crazy Democrats who's running, let's take a look at
Yeah.
Hannah Pingree's ad.
Ugh.
Let's see. Share.
We have to know our enemy, right? That's the whole purpose.
We do.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this going?
Unrecognizable scenes after yesterday's devastating storm.
The dock was totally destroyed.
When the storms cleared, we came together. We did the hard things that none of us could do alone.
We had school kids, we had 80-year-olds.
Half the town was down here.
It's just something that small towns do for each other.
That's the Maine I learned about from my parents, where everyone has to step up to make things work. And that's the Maine where Jason and I are raising our 2 kids.
She's just a down-to-earth Mainer.
Now we're being tested like never before, on top of a climate crisis, a housing crisis, and skyrocketing costs. A president abusing his power to attack Mainers.
President Trump is threatening to cut off federal funding to Maine.
I'm Hannah Pingree, and as Speaker of the Maine House, I took on the tough fights to do what's right for Maine. We stood up to chemical companies who are poisoning our kids and passed a landmark bill to stop them.
Do I think she's tough? My word, she's as tough as anyone I know.
And faced down opposition, even in my own party, to pass one of the nation's first marriage equality laws.
She was not afraid to take anything on.
Working for Governor Mills, I led an office focused on Maine's future, helping Maine communities recover from disasters, building more of the housing we need, and investing in technical training and apprenticeships, building pathways to good-paying careers.
She doesn't give up easily. She doesn't give up at all.
She was interested in listening to what people had to say around here. I know she's going to do her darndest.
She will definitely be a big-time voice for everyone in the state of Maine.
I'm running for governor to bring Mainers together and to do the hard things that none of us can do by ourselves. Together, we can face the storms and the headwinds, so our families can thrive here, not just survive. Because Maine's future is worth the fight.
Yay.
I know. She took a little bit of a hit, though, the other day. I mean, if you go on her page and you look down, she's up to, when she went out and called all the Mainers racist for questioning Decca Delac's comment with, our allegiance to Somalia. You had like 150 Mainers laughing at her, 223 comments, 2 of them positive towards her. Do you think that ads like this will get her into that position?
What?
Do you think that ads like this work right now with Mainers?
So what's really interesting, I think when we look at what's the political landscape, right? And I have this conversation with some people that are in the middle that are not really like politically engaged. And the unfortunate thing about the world is that the people who are in the middle, right? They're the ones that actually determine elections, right? They're the ones that swing elections one direction or another. And one of the things that they generally speaking don't want to do is engage and pay attention. Right. So like the facts, the data, the information that like on what's actually happening don't necessarily matter to them. And so like, I could see an ad like this. It's not negative. It's not attacking somebody else. Now it is presenting like a really upbeat, like things are going great. Look at what we've done attitude. And these people are going to look at their pocket and they're going to like, it doesn't seem like you're doing a good job making things better here. So as much as upbeat as you want to be and talk about the fact that she's a fighter, maybe she's fighting on the wrong side. If she's such a great fighter, why are things constantly getting worse? Why is the cost of energy going up, as we talked about? Why are the taxes going up? Why is all these and like the quality of life here in the state of Maine is going down, making it more challenging for people who grow up here to be able to live here. But yeah, I think that I do think that these types of videos, like I think they what they do is they get the name recognition out there. They have like that like nice upbeat sound and it makes people feel good, right? And it's not negative, so people aren't angry about seeing a campaign ad. So I think it's a good way to try to advertise yourself when you're in the majority and you control the media. But it's not like authentic. It's not real. It's not honest. When you try to pretend that things are going really great and the only problem is the Republicans get in the way, when in reality it's Democrat policies that are causing things to be worse here in the state of Maine.
Yeah.
And then you go out. What's funny is you as you kind of alluded to, like you juxtaposition this, you do this, which seems like upbeat and happy and like not negative, and then you call Maine anybody who thinks that let's just be clear about what Decca DeLocke is, right? Like she is probably a great person in some ways, right? But she is a person who is saying publicly that she's Somalia first, while she's representing South Portland and really representing people in the state of Maine. This is so if you're a legislator, your role as a legislator, first and foremost, I don't care where you're from, what your history, what your background is to take care of the people that live in your state, right? In your community, first and foremost, as a representative from South Portland, right? But at large, you need to care about the entire state. When you're in the House or in the Senate, you're representing the state of Maine. And first and foremost, not a foreign country. And so to suggest, for instance, that that somebody who says that's not okay is racist for saying it is absolutely insane.
Yeah, and so I guess maybe what we have to do is like when they post those videos online, change the conversation. Just question her, like, where do you stand on, biological males playing in the girl sports, right? Question her on like calling Mainers racist, and instead of sitting there like she has her nice fluffy music playing, showing them all come together. She's talking about climate change. The thing is that she's getting absolutely annihilated on her Facebook account. How much do you think someone's Facebook account is going to matter in this election?
Yeah, I mean, well, what's interesting is like there's so many people that are just so like I think captured by their political ideology that for a lot of people, like us going after somebody like her, that's just going to solidify their perspective, either that Republicans are mean, or they're just going to want to defend. Like I think it's like what happened. I don't know that this is necessarily what's going to happen, right? Like I think we need, but I would sit there and wonder, like when Biden was like, obviously he had dementia and he would get attacked, people would defend him.
Yeah.
Some people tried to claim that he was in his right mind, but a lot of people knew that he had dementia, and they just had like, why are you attacking this old man?
No, you have to separate things though, because you're okay. So here's the issue: is that attacking someone based on their statement or policy is different than attacking a characteristic.
I agree.
And people on our side will actually make that mistake, and they'll attack someone's characteristic, and that will always fall flat. I always tell people bypass that and go right to their policy or their statement. And everything that she has is laid out for statement. No one needs to attack her for being a female or this or that or whatever. Attack her for calling people racist, for supporting a Somalian over the Mainers, not addressing the actual argument in this situation. So,
no, I definitely think on that issue, I was talking more broadly, but I think in general, when somebody is attacked in politics, people tend to want to defend them, regardless of what the issue is. But I do think that that's why, like, rather than attacking them, as you're kind of suggesting, attacking the policies that they're presenting is the piece that I think we really need to aggressively do. And I think if we can do that and get that information out there, I think that could have a positive impact on helping people see the chinks in her armor, so to speak, and other Democrat politicians. Like we should be going after Shanna Bellows, and I like to anyway, but like about her claims that she's all about protecting democracy and making sure every legal vote is counted, all while she literally tried and stands by her decision to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. It's like, this is contradictory.
Yeah.
Like you want the people's voice to be heard unless it's a voice that you don't agree with. Right. And so it's contradictory. So attacking those types of things, I think, are really helpful.
Do you think that when a Democrat disables comments, that it's a positive or a negative for them? Does that help them because they can keep the negative, their opponents away? Or does it become so obvious to the public that they're like, wait, what? What? Why?
If we don't comment on it, if we don't raise awareness about the fact that it's happening, I don't think it does anything. Because think about, like, for instance, Kamala Harris in 2024, right? When she wasn't doing interviews, like, it was hurting her a little bit in the polls. but it hurt her a lot more when she started doing interviews. Like,
yeah.
I think part of the reason we won, nationally, is because of the fact that she did a couple interviews, and then people were like, "Oh my gosh, she like is not mentally capable of doing this job," and so she really dove in the polls after 2 interviews. The first one was, I think, Brett Baird is the one that probably did her in the most. But like the reality is, like, same thing with Shanna Bell. I think it probably is a good tactic by them, because I think she knows, because of how poorly she's performed, like the more the comments are going to be negative, and it's going to be hard to stop that. But that's where we need to just highlight the fact that she's unwilling to have debate. She's unwilling to have discourse. Like, none of these people, I've reached out to all of the Democrat and independent that I'm aware of candidates for governor, to invite them to come onto the podcast, and I have heard not a peep out of them, especially in response to Hannah's comments that we're all racist, or that Bobby Charles is somehow racist for suggesting that a sitting legislator should care about Maine first. I said, hey, well, come on to the podcast. Let's talk about it. Let's debate it. I'd love to have a conversation with you about this and understand where the heck you're coming from, because but no response from anyone about coming on and having civil discourse.
Yeah, they're just gonna pay pay YouTubers and go on their podcast. They did,
Yeah.
right?
Mine's free. I'll have you come on here for free once. If you want to come on more than once, we'll see. But
who do you think's gonna win the primary for Democrats?
My assumption is that Shanna Bellows has too much negativity associated with her, and Democrats will believe they're definitely. I mean, Democrats, in my opinion, are racist and sexist. Racist doesn't come into play here, but and I can tease out what I mean by that, but I think that they are sexist, and so they will pick a woman. And that woman, I think they will pick will be Hannah Pingree, because I think she's the most palatable of the two. And she also, I'm told, is schooled on the issues, and obviously she learned from her mom how to twist and manipulate things and say things in ways that make it sound really good, when in reality what they're doing behind closed doors in Augusta is obviously not for the American people or Maine people. So I would at this point, from where I sit, I would suspect that Hannah Pingree has the best chance of coming out of the Democrat primary. Angus King, I don't know. I was on the radio with Aaron Chadbourne on Saturday, and he was commenting that Angus King's when he's been reaching out to Democrat lawmakers to try and gain support, they ask him, what his experience is, and he's like, I learned politics from the feet of my father, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Like, what have you done? Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think that's impressing the Democrats. Like, my name is Angus King III. I am the son of Angus King Jr., who is the former governor.
So you probably think that the likely would be Shanna or Hannah, one or two.
I would suspect there. I think there was a interview on the Robinson Report that seemed to suggest that Troy Jackson, had a chance of pulling it out. I think a lot of people know him, but again, I think that Democrats, because they're I don't know, some of their Marxist ideology that maybe they don't even know that they have, and they're feeling like there haven't been enough women involved in history. They've got to make up for it. And so, like, if it's a man versus a woman, they're going to vote for the woman more often than they're going to vote for the man. And so I would be very surprised to see anybody other than a woman come out of the primary. And I think Hannah, like I said, I think Shanna Bellows being the Secretary of State and just having a lot of negativity associated with that, with trying to keep Trump off the ballot, I think so it's interesting because, like, on the one hand, a lot of Democrats love that.
Yeah,
right?
They do.
So you have a lot of your hardline. So it's within the realm. It's a question of whether or not the moderate and intelligent Democrats win out, or if the radicals win out. So for us, I think the best case scenario is that it's Shanna Bellows, because I think she's the most beatable. But I think that it's within the realm of possibility that, she's the most beatable. But I think Hannah.
Hannah gets almost no interaction online at all. Almost the worst out of everyone. Like,
Yeah, but
like literally no. She has no input on social media.
she doesn't need one though. She's got her mother's last name.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, Pingree. Oh yeah, we love Pingree.
Yeah.
Here we go. Like the Democrats would be like, the Democrats in the North will be like, we wished we could have voted for Shelley Pingree for so many years. And so,
Yeah.
I think that the name recognition. I mean, they both have at this point, because Hannah is the daughter of Shelley, and I guess she was the Speaker of the House as well. Like there is some name recognition there, but yeah.
Who do you think is for the Republicans? Who do you think?
We don't even know who's in the race, man. There's still people like, my understanding is there's a high probability that Jonathan Bush declares. He is yet to declare. I keep hearing people who think that Laurel Libby is or should run, and she's got really great, obviously, name recognition. She's on Fox News every 15 minutes, last I checked. And Sean Moody was he ran against Mills in her first run, and he's run before it, and like those three like have better name recognition than the people that are currently in the race. And I think until that was four, I should say. Did I say 4 or 3? Sean Moody, Laura Libby, Jonathan Bush. Jonathan Bush his last name is Bush, right? There's 3. The name recognition there, and then there's also another potential candidate, who has less name recognition. I was corrected by Aaron Chadbourne than I had thought, but Garrett Mason, who was the former Senate Majority Leader when LePage was in office, and so those 4 have yet to declare. There's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of great candidates. I think even once they all declare, there's a lot of great candidates. If we go based on who has already declared, I would say Bobby Charles has done the best, because he started before everybody else did. Like he was going around to county committee meetings and state committee meetings and speaking at all of the Lincoln dinners that he possibly could in order to get his name out there before he declared. And so I think he's got more name recognition. Jim Libby, I think, might be ahead of him. The Senator Jim Libby from the state Senate. I think he's got some good name recognition too. But I think based on where things currently sit, I mean, Bobby Charles seems to have done the best job getting his name out there.
Do you think that, at least from my perspective, it looks like nationwide, politically, just in the West in general, whoever's willing, whether you're left or right, if you're willing to show that you're ready to fight back against the other side, is the one that people seem to be rallying behind. So anyone that's kind of milquetoast, anyone that's kind of mild, you don't see them winning very many elections. And you could base this on Canada, UK, state elections, local elections, the US elections. Right now, there seems to be a major tension between the left and the right, and people are picking fighters. And like when Bobby Charles kind of went against, the Democrats recently, there's a lot of support. A lot of people were kind of like cheering him on.
He also was the first, just for the record, I have no dog in the fight. Whoever outside of the dog that wins, right? I want us to win in 2026. And so I'm not endorsing any candidates. So anything that I'm saying here is merely speculation about what I see and what I'm trying to understand and what I would guess from where I sit. It is not a declaration. It is not an endorsement or anything like that. But one of the interesting things that I found is that Bobby has also upset people, part of his own caucus. There are a lot of Republicans that are upset with him, not because of the Deca Deloc stuff, but because he went after Ben Midgley. Like the day before Ben Midgley declared, he sent out a press release suggesting that he is the GOP frontrunner, which I think is accurate as of today. I'd say that that's the case. He's got a lot of ads out there. He's getting his information out there. But the other part was that he was mockingly welcoming Ben Midgley to the main GOP, to the Republican Party. And I don't know if maybe Ben Midgley just recently registered as a Republican. I don't really know. But I think there are some people that are saying that was a party foul, in bad taste, calling him a rhino, all that kind of stuff. But so the question is whether or not that helps him or hurts him. I think you're right. I think a lot of people do want a fighter, and I think a lot of the people who are super Trumpers are well, if he's a rhino, call him a rhino. Like, I don't care, like, so, I think that like that kind of fighting, I think does rally the base. And that's kind of how that's one of the things you have to do to win a primary.
I think that like Shenna seems to know that a little bit, right? So like she, as much as she's kind of riding off the coattails of like I guess Janet, right? She's telling Trump to jump into the the Gulf of Maine. She's going on podcasts saying that she's standing up to him, that she's fighting back against him. Bobby Charles is kind of like the right's version of that. If Laura Libby runs, maybe she'll also kind of fight back a little bit.
I imagine, yeah. I would, like Laurel. I mean, when she's in the legislature, she's constantly calling out anybody she disagrees with, whether the Democrat or Republican. She has kind of suggested almost as it's like this badge of honor that I will call out Republicans if I need to. So I imagine if she enters the race, that she will not be unwilling to talk about the deficiencies that she sees in other Republicans that are running.
But I mean, like fighting back against the left. Like,
well, that too.
I don't think the average. So I don't think the average person.
Absolutely.
I don't think the average person cares too much about. I think
the in-house fighting.
Yeah, I think that right now each side just wants to have their side win, and you can see that. It's like when I go into like Reddit and read the leftist spaces, I try to figure out where they're at. I don't see them cheering on anyone except for Shenna Bellows and Janet Mills, but Janet Mills isn't officially running for Senate. But they cheer on only two people, and I see it over and over again. It's Shenna Bellows and Janet Mills. No one talks about King. No one, Angus King a little bit. But they're always talking about Shenna Bellows. They talk about Janet Mills. They want someone that's going to stand up to Trump. Someone that's kind of in the middle, wishy-washy. I think talk about like climate change. I don't think Hannah Pingree is going to land with a lot of people, because the thing is she's also not going to like the 50-50 protests. But you have someone like Shenna Bellows that's going there, and you have a lot of the older people, the old Democrats. They're going to these protests, and you see Angus King, the senator, going to those protests. You see Shenna Bellows going to those ones, and you see their support all over leftist spaces. Nobody says anything about Hannah, nor do they interact with any of her social media posts. It's interesting. I would love to see a Bobby Charles, a Laurel Libby against Shenna Bellows. Like, that would be lit. Maine would end up being on fire. Oh, and actually, it'd even be more insane. Could you picture this? Janet Mills versus what? LePage?
No.
So it's not
Susan
against
Collins.
Yeah. So you'd have Janet Mills versus Susan Collins. You'd have LePage versus Golden. You'd have maybe Laurel Libby or Bobby Charles versus Shenna Bellows. I don't know if Hannah is going to win this one. At least right now, things can change. Like, this election cycle is going to be insanity. Like, I don't think people are even ready for this. Like, if you want to really be in the ring to fight, this is going to be one of the most explosive elections. And I think people know that, and that's why you see the Bushes getting involved. Like, I'm watching these pieces moving, and they're going fast, and you see a lot of people like, let's do it. This is going to be the biggest rumble in Maine's history. I think that this is going to hit national news constantly. Like, you can't, you have Susan Collins, and then you have people like Steve Robinson, the Maine Wire, all these other moving parts that are going to be jumping into this battle, calling people out for not maybe their positions on transgenderism in schools. You're going to call people out for not speaking about the marijuana grows, the illegal foreigners. Like, I think that right now, Chuck, if you want to explode, this is your window. This is literally your window. If you prepare and you get this right, your podcast and your social media for this race, this would be what would launch you. 100%. We need to get someone to back you and anyone else that wants to enter this type of sphere, because this is so important. There's going to be so many people running. Janet Mills doesn't have an option not to run. You can't allow a powerhouse, because LePage himself is going to help unite the right across the board, just to watch it. People are going to be paying attention just because LePage is there. And then you're going to have people possibly like Laurel Libby, Bobby Charles, Wessels, all these other people, they're going to be posting online. They're going to be fighting. Then you have Democrats like Shenna Bellows and Janet doing their thing. Maine is going to be so damn explosive, Chuck. Like, so damn explosive.
Yeah, I'm very interested. So like I've never been. I guess I was running for office in the previous gubernatorial race, but it wasn't an open race, right? You had basically it was like a tale of two incumbents in a sense, because LePage was a former governor running against the current governor, so it was almost like neither one of them had necessarily the incumbent benefit. Um, and so like I've been I was my first year involved in really involved in politics, so this is I'm so new, and I have no idea what's coming. I do understand that there is going to be a lot of money thrown from both sides of the aisle at this election cycle. I think Susan Collins versus I think when Susan Collins ran against it's not Sarah Palin, Sarah Gideon. I'm pretty sure like between their campaigns and PACs and all that other kind of stuff, there was somewhere around $100 million spent on that election alone. Now add to it a gubernatorial race, right?
Yeah.
Where we're going to have it's been rumored that there's going to be somewhere around $50 million spent on
the Bushes are now
on the primary.
Yeah.
On the Republican primary, right? So, and then you combine that with how much money is going to be spent on the Democrat primary, like in their first initial fundraisings for their actual campaigns, like Shenna Bellows, Hannah Pingree, and Angus King Jr. had all raised close to $600,000. And so they're going to spend probably more money because the Democrats somehow, I don't know, they have like an unlimited bank account somewhere that they just keep withdrawing from because somehow they always have more money to spend. But they're going to spend a lot of money on that primary and on the general election. So there's going to be a lot of insanity that's going to be happening here in the state of Maine.
And I think that people haven't even fully encompass it, right? So you have Shenna Bellows, who's essentially a Democrat socialist. She's pretty much admitted that. You have Hannah Pingree, who's a social Democrat. You have Angus King Jr., who's just kind of flat out plain Democrat. You have the different factions of the left,
and then you have Troy Jackson, who's praising Mamdani. He's basically full
Marxist.
on DSA as well. Yeah, Marxist. Yeah.
So then on the right, you actually have the Bushes, which is going to be considered neocon, deep state, whatever. People are going to put that in their mind.
Well, I would say that they're going to put that in their mind, but
that's what I'm saying.
There's so Jonathan himself made comments about neocons that were not positive. So I don't think he's a neocon, but
no. So I'm just making an observation. I'm not saying an opinion. So you're going to have what people are going to perceive as neocon. The old guard. You're going to possibly have Laura Libby, which is controversial in itself. Bobby Charles, who's a fighter, and then simultaneously you're going to have possibly Janet Mills going against Susan Collins, with LePage coming back from Florida, going against Jared, who first time won through ranked choice voting. So you're going to have the discussion of ranked choice voting. Then you're going to have the fact that this is a national election when it comes to the Senate race, that they're trying to claw back and get some power away from Trump. I think that this election cycle is going to be one of the most epic and biggest election cycles that you will ever see in your lifetime, especially locally.
Oh yeah,
hands down.
Here in the state of Maine, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in Maine.
Yeah.
Other states, Maine is going to be like right now. If someone wants to get involved in like campaigning or doing anything, this is the fight, and more and more people. And the reason I didn't even really think about this until I've been following all these leftists on Reddit. They are gearing up for this. All of these 50-50-01 protests and stuff are actually organized largely by Democrats, like by politicians, right? If I was to ask you, could you name a single left-wing activist that's not a politician? Could you? I can name endlessly right-wing ones. Can you name one left-wing activist that's not government?
I mean, probably some of these podcasters, but what is it? What's that Harry something? The
guy who's taking money. Yeah, the Harry guy. He's doing the debates and stuff. But he actually, I think he admitted he was getting money from the DNC. Like that was a thing.
Doesn't surprise me. Why can't the RNC spend money on those types?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but the thing is that they're gearing up for this is going to get so wild. And I think the GOP, and especially the right in the Maine, they should be coming to you and other ones and really trying to boost this up. This is the moment to do it because that window is going to shrink so quickly.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I think people are still beginning to grapple with. So when I started getting involved in, I never intended to start a podcast. Well, I say that, and I had an idea about maybe starting a podcast, but I don't think I had this thought of like having it be live broadcasted and stuff like that, which is, I think it gives it a rawness and a realness that I think is so much more valuable than I think I was thinking. But it's very different than what I had initially thought about when I considered doing a podcast before Truth Slinger commandeered me and got me going. But I think I was exploring. So I ran for office in 2022, and I had this idea. Historically, you win elections by going door to door. That's how you win. You go door to door. You have conversations with people. One of the things that I realized in 2022, where I did almost no social media, was that you know what 22 people under the age of 40, largely they don't answer the door. Either it's because they're not home because they're out hanging out with their friends, or it's because they're just like, no, I'm not interested in whatever salesman is here. They can leave something at the door and I'll check it out later. Basically, and like that doesn't help that much to win elections, right? And so I was like, okay, I hate social media. I largely cut myself off from it, but I was like, we need it. And so I started building up an Instagram page and just really trying to understand social media. And I was like, when I started, I think the main GOP didn't really post anything on Instagram, but they had about 1,000 followers, and the Instagram page that I built up now has about 1,800, and that's all just from me trying to figure out ways to get more people here in the state of Maine, following. It's the biggest Republican page in Maine. The Maine Wire, for the record, if you're wondering, is bigger, but they are not a Republican page, so that's how I quantify that. But then I began to try to understand the other different platforms like Facebook. I kind of already knew from years of posting there as an individual. And so anyway, the point that the reason I'm kind of going through all this is because I think that since I started doing some of this stuff, I think a lot of other people, the Maine House Republicans, and have tried to get better at doing social media. And I think they're still trying to figure it out, but I think we don't know what we're doing is the large part. I think you know what you're doing, and I think I'm gaining a sense of what I'm doing, but the vast majority of our movement doesn't know how to utilize this tool, and I think we need to get better at it. I think it's because of the fact that we don't have mainstream media that's reporting the news. We have the Maine Wire, which fortunately is. Your keyboard is loud, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No. I just. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, you got me thinking about the protest that's going on at Cumberland County Jail
on Friday, right?
And I keep forgetting about it. I'm like I have to post it now because every single day for about a week I forgot to post it. I keep forgetting to put it up.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think a lot of people aren't in the Maine GOP, and I don't really understand how to utilize social media. I mean, Maine. Think about it for this: Republicans tend to be people engaged. Maine is just an old state, right? And so people don't understand how to utilize these tools. They don't see the value, and I think people who are focused on getting out the vote don't see the value either. And so it doesn't surprise me, I guess, that given the new landscape, I mean, social media has existed, but I think people in Maine in particular haven't known and haven't learned how to utilize it for politics, but similar to the national, scene. I mean, we need it in order to be able to sway the hearts and minds of people here in the state. That's the reality. In order to win here in the state of Maine, we need more people to see the world the way that we see it. In order for people to see the world the way we see it, we need to communicate them. And so part of that is get out, have a conversation, talk to people, disagree with them. But the other piece is engage in social media, don't get involved in useless, pointless conversations. So if you see a message board, the idea is don't go back and forth with them. It's going to be a huge waste of your time. But, make a punchy statement or something and then move on. And if they keep commenting, fine.
Yes and no. So you're right. Don't argue. But see, I guess the way I look at it, and I look at the left as an enemy. And what I try to do is I try to demoralize them, and I've tried different strategies. And they live in a realm of wokeness, which is identity politics, right? Intersecting with oppressed narrative. So not to reveal too much, but when we did the Justice and Jazz event, there was that kid there, right, that I was interviewing. And there's a lot behind the scenes that I haven't put out, and I don't know if I should put out. But I've been trying this new strategy where I actually pit the men on the left against the women, and point out the fact that they're actually the reason that their side's losing is because that the women, it's a female dominated movement that forces the men to sit in the back. And I've tried it with two different people, and one of them might be watching this, might end up watching this, so I don't want to give too much away, that I've been using, and it's very effective, and it gets them to change the thing. So they live in a realm of identity politics. Use that against them. And for some reason, like I sat there and talked to him for a long time, and he admitted that he actually really doesn't like going to a lot of these things because he's told constantly to be quiet, let the women voices speak, or the thing is, he was straight white male. So all three of them kept him in the back row. So if there was like someone of color or, using their terms, I hate using that term, female, he was always pushed in the back. If I get into I don't try to debate the leftists online. I try to demoralize them and actually break them away from there and hate their own side. Does that make any sense? So you could say it doesn't matter. You're not going to debate someone and get them to change, but you can attack them. You can actually go, you're never going to get power. You're never going to rise up, and you're never going to be known within the left if you're this identity. We don't base our structures on identities. So if you have an idea, even if you're like a socialist, you can speak those things and we'll listen to you. And I tell the kid, listen, you're smart. I can hear it in your voice. Your voice will never get heard by your side. And I'd ask him, can you name one left-wing? And I asked you earlier about the left-wing activist thing. I asked him and he goes, no. I go, your whole party is just run by generally female Democrats, politicians that are going to keep your voice down because they want to try to achieve some sort of equity because female voices have been down for so long. I go, that's perfectly fine. You guys can believe that, but you're in a position where you can never have your voice heard. And when he couldn't disagree with that, and he actually started giving examples. And I did this exact same thing, but through text to someone on X that kind of floats in our spaces, and it worked really well. It devastates the guys on that side.
Especially, right? The straight white males.
The one that I was just talking to recently wasn't white, and it definitely they all agree, right? So I guess my perspective, and I guess I have a hard time. I'll go to a lot of these GOP events, and this is just me ranting, and maybe this is, but my biggest thing is that a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I'm coming at it from a different angle. I'm looking at their side and their ideology as an enemy. And how do I defeat it? How do I circumvent it? How do I strategically defeat them? And I feel like a lot of the older GOP, and I feel like people my age want that. They're looking for someone that's going to fight and defeat this ideology. And I think that the old school GOP people are like, oh no, these are just people in the community, and we have to try to defeat them with debates and logic and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think the time for debate and discussion has been over for a long time. They don't look at us that way. We don't share the same vision for the future. So the moment you start looking at them as actual enemies, and not individually, I don't want to hurt people, but I want to destroy their worldview in a different way. I don't know. It's hard to put it into words. And I think that a lot of our people, I feel like until the GOP and the older crowd actually can see this for what it is, they're going to lose every single time in almost everything across the board. And people, there's a lot of people on X and Facebook that's our age, 40 and under. They'll reach out and they're just like, oh, the GOP they're so out of touch. Laurel Libby and Bobby Charles kind of hit it. They strike the chord a little bit better. But a lot of the people that show up to these things that donate or that want to get involved, they are so far removed. They think they're just negotiating with their neighbor who just slightly believes in slightly more social programs. They don't realize that they're fighting against people that actually want to fully dismantle the Western society. Yeah, I don't know. And so when I go into it, I try to defeat them. I'm not trying to go hey.
So how do you do that though? Because I think a lot of people, if they're paying attention or watching, they're like, great, that's awesome, do it. But how do you? I think what are the tactics that we can use to help people? Because I think you're right. We live in a post-logical era, right? This is not an era where logic and reason win out. This is an era where people largely make their decisions not based on those things, but based on other, whether it's emotion or a lot of the like our commercials and stuff like that is all about how it can make you feel, because that's how people are largely making decisions. They're not like, buy this car because it works the best and it has the best everything. It's like, oh my gosh, you feel really good in this car. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think logic and reason, to your point, is how you win. But I think if you can tear apart somehow like the brokenness in the system that they believe in, demoralize them, maybe.
If you treat, if you had a neighbor who you both share the same community with, and you both agreed to disagree, and you shared the same vision for the future, but you had different paths to get there, you would negotiate with them, and you would use objective reasoning, and you would try to work with them because you both want to get to the same place, but you disagree on how to get there. You treat that individual much differently than an individual that goes, I don't share the same vision of the future with you at all, right? In the least bit, they do not share the same vision. So they're going, they're thinking, I need to defeat that person because I want my vision to be the one that we achieve. And so how you treat those people are much different. So I'm not...
Well, the challenge, I think part of the challenge is, and I think this is what people need to understand, is that the Marxist will not tell you, and this is like the cultural Marxism, this is what's rising, communism, socialism, whatever you want to call it, it's Marxism. It's like, and they're not going to tell you exactly what they believe. This is part of the problem. They want to say, like I had like Raphael Macias, I should say, on my podcast, and he's a rep out of Topsom, Democrat, and like, I don't believe in that his end game is what he says his end game is.
Ask him directly.
Well, we talked about that, and we both want a society with human flourishing. But the path to get there, right? Well, it's too vague, but and I think maybe that's part of the problem. But like, I think that he would say that he wants a healthy society where people have all the opportunity that they need in order to be able to live and thrive and survive all this other kind of stuff. But how you get there is through socialism, is through really, like he even at one point commented that you shouldn't have to work if you don't want to. And I was like, yeah, you're going to have a hard time convincing people who follow this podcast to agree with you there. Right. Like that. So I don't know if I think part of it is they might not be honest with themselves as well. So I think
I've had a lot of conversations with them. When you dig down, and the thing is, a lot of people on the right won't try to infiltrate or pretend to be a lefty to get them to talk openly. I've had too many people that on the surface will say one thing and talk just like that guy was talking to you. But then behind the scenes, if you can create a fake account that's a leftist account, they're going full on Marxist revolution. They're just tricking you. They're literally tricking you.
Well, and I think that's what they're trying to do. But like, what is their end game? What is their objective? If you would articulate that.
Well, the objective of the obedient left, because it's different than the disobedient left, would be to have an authoritarian structure in which it would be just pretty much power, right? And because all Marxist things are about power. That's all it's about. How do you get there? Before it was a class struggle. Right now they use identity politics to get there. Their goal is to have a single party rule where they think that they're going to be the ones that rule it. And they think that they're smarter than the average person around and that they need to create those structures and rules. That's generally, you get an average person. What happens when you overeducate a society? You get too many average people that think they're smarter than they actually are. So then they start looking down on the rest of society and they believe that they can be in place and create structures that will actually be better for the people below them. So they do truly believe that they're doing the right thing. But this is how all communist things. So their goal is to trick everyone to give up all their power. And they will provide housing, they will provide food, and they want to do those things. But it never works out because they can't recognize that they're just average people that have been tricked into thinking that they're much smarter than they are. That is literally what happens to communism every single time. And people can't address the elephant in the room, which would be, how do you prevent, once you have consolidation of power into one spot, how do you prevent the dictator problem? The thing is, it doesn't matter about if communism fails. How do you prevent the
they believe in rainbow unicorns and leprechauns. They
don't. It's all trickery. It's all they don't.
I think. Well, I mean, again, I think there's a variety of different. different flavors. I think there are some people that actually believe that socialism. I mean, I have friends who are more socialistic, and they actually believe that this is better for society, that it would create, so like there's a combination of different viewpoints that you're going to see, within that movement. But yeah, I don't know.
It's tough because ultimately you don't share, and you can just ask someone, do you believe in the free exchange between two or more individuals? And that will separate the left and the right at its core. Boil it down. Do you believe in the absolute free exchange between two or more individuals? If they say yes, they cannot be a socialist, right?
Okay.
And then because if you believe in the free exchange, that means the government, it doesn't actually get involved or shouldn't be as involved. Do you also believe in the expansion or reduction of government? And the thing, and that you can actually separate a lot of like conservatives too. When you talk to someone and say, well, right now in the current state of things, do you believe in the reduction of government or the expansion? You can really navigate who's a neocon, who's a rhino. The rhinos and neocons will say, oh, well, we need bigger government to control these things. You're going to find the populace wants to have reduction of government. That's what,
yeah.
And you can get actually some people on the left, when you actually get them to answer that, when they say reduction of government, you can actually make them an ally to your side. If they say expansion, you can never actually come to the same terms, right? Because if their goal,
so once you've done that, once you've figured out like on those two questions, whether or not they're a socialist, a leftist, like how do you what do you do then?
So it's going to depend on the person. So we'll take that kid for example. He actually had a difficult time on figuring out he was young, so he didn't really know, do I believe in bigger government? Because when you make someone actually question, do you believe in the expansion or reduction? Even if you're a leftist, you go, oh, geez, actually, I don't know if I believe in the expansion of government. If they go, I don't know, or they say, I believe in the reduction, you got them. They will be your ally, because then you can say, well, everything the left is doing, and even some parts of the right is doing expansion of government. That's when you can lead someone down the path of at least being a libertarian. If the person says that they believe in the expansion of government, whether the right or left, then it becomes difficult, because now you're just basing everything on policy, and the left is going to start to go, well, we need to have single party. They're going to want to achieve, they might not say it openly, full on socialism, eventually getting to communism, which would be full on, what single party rule. And then the right was just like I don't know. It's tricky. If I'm a leftist and I tell you, well, I believe in expanding the government from what it is right now, like massively expanding it, how do you and I actually negotiate?
Yeah, I mean that's tough, because I want a reduction of government. I think I would be labeled a federalist, which is kind of what they call Trump, I guess, these days. So I do think that there needs to be, like, there are some things that need to come from a federal government, so much smaller than it currently is, but bigger than I think the libertarians would want it. I think that's a kind of, but it's still smaller than it. I mean, just
do you believe in right-wing activism against, I guess, what we would classify as an enemy?
Well, it depends on what you mean by right-wing activism.
Okay, well,
right?
let's say
what? Give me. I need examples. I can't because I think going and commenting on pages, or showing up to events to kind of interview people and infiltrate, disrupt, get videos to be able to use in social media, stuff like that. I'm absolutely, but what.
Well, let's just say someone's we'll say a school board or city council member. They let's just say for sure that they're openly Democrat, socialists. And do you think that it's justified for the right to organize with attacking them online?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because you're kind of treating them as an enemy, and
yeah, like the stuff that Alvin Louis and Courage is a Habit and he's been doing online related to a lot of these insane people. I mean, all he's doing is taking stuff that they've said and putting it together and saying, look at how wild and crazy they are. Look at how much they hate people who disagree with them and would be happy if these people die, for instance, because they refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine or whatever else it might be. Yeah, I think getting that information out there, spreading it, and making sure people are aware I think is something that we can and absolutely should do. I think sometimes people feel a little uncomfortable with it because it feels mean to like take somebody and basically put the crosshairs on them. But I think it's worse to let somebody who is doing horrible things through the policies that they're enacting that are dangerous and damaging to our children and to our state to continue to quote unquote serve their community in a way that is detrimental to the community. So I absolutely think it's actually because of the fact. So like, it's interesting you asked that question, right? But like what you're effectively talking about is, and what you're talking about doing is exactly what the mainstream media should be doing. Like it's actually their job to inform the people. It's not, and so if there's somebody who's doing, right now we'll still get reports about this, right? Like this teacher I saw one recently that what teacher somewhere was arrested for having had sex with a minor, right? One of her students, and so like what happened as a result of that? Well, they reported on it, right? That's news. Well, what about like a school board member that's calling anybody who disagrees with him a Nazi? Like, why is that not in the mainstream media? Well, because the mainstream media are a bunch of clowns who are a propaganda arm of the left, right? So because they're not doing their job, that's why we exist. I would prefer to work a regular job and not have to be here, as I'm sure you would. But unfortunately, we're put in this position where we need to get the information out there, and we need people to be able to do it. And so we've got to focus on this. So I think we absolutely have a responsibility to do what we can to get information out to the people about people who are radicals, who are pretending to be, kind, nice people. Yeah.
That's probably, if someone asked me what like my goal is, or what that's a huge aspect. And when I saw Alvin and them doing that, it's very effective. It's separate because and like you said, some people get like, oh, they're upset that you're putting them in the crosshairs. It's only because they don't realize that what the motives of that person are. If they truly knew what they were doing in the manipulation, do you think that we are going in our lifetime going to see the left and the right come back together, or do you see it just continuing to separate?
It's a great question. I mean, I think I think what could happen, right? We need the socialist element to die, right? In order for that to happen, we need to take a stronghold, and if conservatives win enough, so I think of, I'm not doing a good job of saying this, but like I think I remember the story of Corrie ten Boom in a book called The Hiding Place, but it's kind of talking about her. She was captured by the Nazis in a concentration camp and all this kind of stuff. They were hiding and protecting Jews from being killed by the Nazis in Holland. And anyway, there's a guard that's in the prison that later on she sees after the war is over at like some sort of Christian thing, and he comes up to her and he wants to apologize to her, and she like has hate in her heart still for him, and she feels the Holy Spirit release her from that. But the point that I'm getting at though is that, like, that guard did horrible things, right? And it wasn't until the fall of the empire that I think now he could see, and there was hope for him to be able to be redeemed, essentially, right? So I think like we need to devastate and destroy the left, and I think like the Democrat Party is falling apart, right? Like its approval rating is like 18% or something crazy like that, maybe 20% nationally, which is the lowest it's ever been. If we can effectively devastate them enough, especially in 2026, if we can have a resounding victory, if we can win, for instance, the House and the Senate and the gubernatorial race here, we can win back that seat from Jared Golden. If we can have that kind of a victory here, excuse me, I think it'll cause a lot of people to like rethink how they view the world. Because they have this assumption, I think, I get this often, where people meet me, they realize they get to know who I am, and then they find out I'm a Republican, and they're like, I don't understand. You're a really nice guy. And like all along, they just assume because I'm a really nice guy that I'm a Democrat, because obviously good people are Democrats and Republicans are all a bunch of assholes. Yeah. And it's just obviously it's not the case, right? But I think that if there's a resounding victory in a place like Maine, for instance, like I can't even imagine if we were to win CD1, right? Imagine imagine that. I mean, that's something we the last candidate lost 70-30, but like if we could even like get up to 40% in that race, up from 30 to 40. We just had Eric Small, who's running for CD1. He was on yesterday. There is another Republican who's also running, Ron Russell. He ran last year as well. But like if we could actually even have a decent showing in that, I think that would frighten a lot of the people on the left, and I think it would show them, well, maybe this isn't as cut and dry as I think we need to like have something sizable like that happen. I think Trump winning in 2024 was the beginning, but we need the avalanche now to fall. And so like a resounding conservative victory in 2026, both here in the state of Maine and nationally, I think would cause enough people to like be like, oh, I got to distance myself from this insanity, and would likely cause a reform to happen within the Democrat Party, or a new party would emerge. Maybe everybody's all worried about Elon Musk, but maybe the party that Elon Musk creates, assuming he creates the American Party, would actually basically take a lot of the people who don't want to be Republican and recognize the Democrats are insane and provide a home for them, and we could move on still. And I know that people don't like the two-party system. I don't think we're going to go away from it. But anyway,
I have no problem with the two-party system.
Me neither, because there's so much variety within each party that it's like there's still like, it doesn't, like if you say that you're a Republican, it doesn't mean that you have to 100% agree on all these things. So there are so many different wings within the Republican Party. You've got the libertarians that are on the Republican Party, but you have the neocons, the rhinos, and a lot of other negative. But even myself, I consider myself to be more of a federalist according to like historical standards. There's a lot of space within the conservative movement, the Republican Party, and same thing, like there's less variability on the Democrat side at this point. They're just more DSA is largely what's taken over their party. But if we can have a resounding victory, I think in 2026, it forces them to reform or die.
When we look at New England, we kind of have to, because let's say New York goes full on Marxist, right? We need it, right. But the thing is that we need to topple. If you look at the map of the U.S., the left has actually locked down the West Coast, the Northeast for the most part, and then everything along the lakes and such. If we could topple, like, people don't realize how important Maine is, even just like symbolically. We can topple Maine, and then New Hampshire stays red, and we create an alliance behind enemy lines, and you have the Marxists start to take, because they're not going to let go of New York. That's going to be a long battle. We become the biggest thorn in the left side if we can flip Maine, like so much, because then we can actually start setting up systems where we actually work with Republicans and libertarians from New Hampshire. We could create an alliance and a stronghold behind, and start toppling the Democrat socialists from behind. And when I look at the map, I picture it as like cold Civil War, cultural Civil War. Yeah. Maine's role, like, you're not going to flip Oregon, you're not going to flip Washington or California, but they need, if they could lock down, and this works with any type of strategic when it comes to like resources and energy, if they could lock down the Northeast and turn it all blue, maybe purple for New Hampshire, they can then divert all their resources and money to other areas, whether it's swing states or the front lines. If we can keep them from taking Maine, it actually forces them to divert a lot of energy and time to the back area here. And I often say, like, everyone has like a different role to play in this. Every individual, every state too, right? So Maine's this weird freaking place. It's not like Idaho, similar populations. It's not like Wyoming. We're like this weird battleground where if we can hold on, even if we don't win, if we can hold on and prevent them from walking down the Northeast, we really block them from solidifying power in the Northeast, and we have to do it. Like that's probably our primary goal, is to make sure they do not lock down the Northeast. That in my head, that's what I think all the time when I look at this stuff. I'm like, don't let them lock down the Northeast. We cannot allow it. We cannot. I play too many strategy games. If they lock down the Northeast, it's going to be so much harder. Then you're going to be facing them from the freaking other side. going through Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. You'll never get through. The red will be gone forever in the Northeast.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, yeah. I think it's challenging to if we are not able to successfully shrug off the insanity or push back against the insanity of the left here in the state of Maine, it is scary, right? And this is the challenge with this battle, because I do think we're in an ideological civil war, or even world war, really, because I think this expands beyond just what's going on here in the United States. It's really all the West, and the West itself influences much of the rest of the world as well. So you go to like the West's influence in Africa, South America, etc. Right? Like, so if you would tackle the West, you're really trying to take down the whole world. But Australia, in all of Europe, is dealing with these same types of ideological battles, and they're starting to push back. I think in France, I think I was just seeing that there's one of the opposition parties to Emmanuel Macron has a higher approval rating or something like that, 18 points higher than Macron. I think it's something like Le Pen or something like that. Yeah, and so you see some people pushing back in other places. But if we don't, like, in this type of battle, right? Like if we don't, like, at least remain, we at the very least need to take something back in Maine. We have to take the House, the Senate, the gubernatorial, something along those lines, because otherwise we become a failed state. Otherwise we fall into just complete Democrat rule where there's no hope of ever being able to challenge that. And then the dangerous part is then they begin spending that money, time, energy, and effort that they're currently having to spend in Maine. And where are they going to spend it? They're going to spend it in New Hampshire, or in other parts of the country where there are tighter races, like Georgia, which is very tight, like Pennsylvania, which is very tight, Michigan, which is very tight, right? Like, that's why it's so important that what we're doing here in Maine it is about the state of Maine, and if that's what motivates you, great, but it's also something bigger than that. It's interesting. I think I was talking to maybe it was Alan Sorvinas, but somebody I was talking to about the fact that, like, people like glorify and like worship these people who fought in actual wars, like, and I'm not saying that worship is probably aggressive, but not that we shouldn't remember these people who fought in some of these wars, and think on, like, how awesome it was, and how if I was there, this is what I would do, right? We want to, like, in some ways, we want that epic battle. We want to be involved in. We would rather be involved in an actual war where we're going into battle than dealing with what we're dealing with here in the state of Maine. Here in the state of Maine, people who would oh my gosh, if I was in World War I, this is what I would, or if I was in the Civil War, Bunker Hill and what the Mainers did at Bunker Hill. Bunker Hill was actually the Revolutionary War, or is that was the Civil War, right?
No, I'm not sure.
I think it was the Civil War. Anyway, no, Bunker Hill was anyway, it doesn't matter. My history there is off, but the point is, people glorify that Joshua Chamberlain and what he did. And yet at the same time, we're unwilling to even have conversations with people that disagree with us and try and find ways to advance our position. We're afraid here in the state of Maine. We're afraid that people will even know that we vote Republican. We're afraid that people will find out that we're registered as Republican. We unfortunately, we have a bunch of people who are cowards. And what's really interesting is the vast majority of businesses, even here in the state of Maine, in southern Maine, a lot of them are Republican-owned businesses, because Republicans are the ones that own businesses, right? Republicans and conservative-minded, independents and whatnot. We're the ones that own businesses, and so people are like, "Oh, yeah, most of the people that I serve are liberals," and it's like, yeah. And if they couldn't work with you, guess what? They're not going to have anybody else to work with, because most of the jobs that we're talking about are in fields where we don't have enough people. And so they're either going to be like, well, I guess I work with a Republican or I work with no one. And so but even still, those people are afraid to be open and honest about who they are and what they believe. And so they hide their political. And by the way, a lot of these people are friends of mine. And so I'm not trying to trash them, outside of saying, man, we have to be willing to risk something in order to win, in order to be able to take back our state, in order to be able to not allow the absolute insanity of the left to be able to advance. I have a friend who I met by going to a Shelley Pingree event. I think she's independent technically, more Democrat ideology, but she actually was like lamenting the fact that she didn't do anything as the left has gotten more radicalized to stand up against her like radically Democrat friends, as they got more radicalized. And so she's like, having conversations with people that we disagree with is actually one of the most important things. Stuff like you're doing and stuff like everybody else could do. And I think one of the things that, like, maybe next week we'll do this and kind of show like how you can easily, because what we need a lot of operatives, right? Like Unquirer and myself, we can't do it all. We need people watching every single school board meeting, every single city council meeting that are recorded, and figuring out and finding clips where, hey, look, oh my gosh, there's this crazy thing that was said, taking those clips, which is relatively easy to do. And we'll kind of walk through how to do that next week. And just then sharing them in social media, but doing more than that, like reaching out to us, sending us a message and saying, hey, I found this and I shared it. And then we can go ahead and reshare it and get that information out there, because there's a lot of crazy things that are being said that are not being reported or not being pushed out there into social media because we don't know that there's there and we have limited time. And so that's one of the things that you can do that would be really helpful. Like I found some stuff a couple of weeks ago at my city council had some fun stuff related to ICE, and my city councilor, in fact, asking ICE if they would, I should say the police department, if they would stand up against ICE and try and stop people from being deported. They made crazy suggestions that legal citizens were going to end up getting deported to a foreign country, which is just absolutely insane. And the police officer is just like, yeah, no, we're not gonna interfere with ICE. That's not our jurisdiction. And they were just like, well, but these people. And one person actually said that we're not interfering with ICE. ICE is interfering in a local situation. This is whether the city council. So these types of conversations are happening, and I didn't even know that was going to happen. It's in my town. Somebody else said, hey, they're having a thing on this. And so I was like, I better tune in and see what crazy things they say. But there's so many of those things from around the state that we need people to have eyes on it. And even if you don't have the ability to clip it, reach out to us and say, hey, something crazy happened here at minute such and such. And then we can hop on, clip it, push it out into social media. But that's one thing that you can do and hold people accountable and keep people from saying crazy things at school board meetings and city council meetings.
Well, and another thing is just finding out, like, we have a lot of people on our side, but I've noticed that people in the GOP, they have a hard time finding out what we like to do. So like people will say, man, you know what used to piss me off before I voted was when people would make posts saying, get out and vote. Like that actually made me double down and not vote. Like I absolutely hated it when people would tell me to get out and vote. And how I ended up voting for the first time in my life is that Matt Boucher. You know Matt Boucher?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
He goes, Richard, he goes, you don't have to vote. He goes, are you registered? And I'm like, I don't even know if I'm registered. And he goes, if you want, he goes, if you have a day, pop down there, register. And he goes, I'd appreciate it. He goes, but you don't have to. And I was like, oh, that was actually a really nice way of putting that. One of the reasons why I never voted before is that I'm like contrarian. I hate authority. When I see messages and people make posts and they'll say, get out and vote. We need your vote. Like I hated stuff like that. I feel, and it's like when we tell people, get out to the school boards, get out to this. Some people like going to the school boards. Other people can hate going to the school boards. They don't want to watch a school board meeting. They don't want to watch a city council meeting. They don't want to go to a lecture. The goal is to find out, like, okay, we have 50 of these people. They love to go sit down and listen to lectures and learn about the details. We got these 40 people. These people love just going online and just like going after the Democrats on Facebook and just writing long things and replying to them. Then we have these 4 people that like to make videos. These people like to watch school board stuff. Like the goal is to find out what is entertaining and fun and efficient for those people. And we've never really broken it down. And obviously we're not going to do that tonight, but I would love to just sit down And especially because like you and I were kind of fighting the digital realm. We do some stuff in the real world, but we have endless years of people that have skill in the I guess physical realm, and we're all kind of new and trying to figure out how to make the political sphere. So like you and I think about like how much we've made school board, and people can't stop talking about like, wow, we actually got people watching school board videos. That never happened before because we're like, okay, we have to watch it for them, clip the parts, post it up there, give them the links, do all the work for them. We need to almost like create a list of what people like to do. Some people like to make videos. Some people want to learn how to use AI. Other people want to do emails. And it would actually be kind of cool to figure out what people's passions are. And then we can actually command them and direct them, especially with the governor races coming up. If we can organize all these followers, because like I know Alan and other people get, and I can understand their frustration. It's like, oh, there's an event, and then almost none of the people, all these people that are responding, no one wants to show up to it. It's just because a lot of those people don't enjoy that type of thing. That's it.
Right. It's not that they're not on our side. It's not that they're not motivated. It's like, yeah, I don't need more information on that. I know what's going on to the degree that I need to know it. And this is what I'm interested in doing. And I think you're right. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is like we say, we need people, but we don't do a good job of figuring out what people are good at, what motivates them, and where they can help. I mean, they're like, even when it comes to running a campaign, there are some people that would never want to go to a door, but ride and drive a car around. While the other person gets out and does stuff. That's fine. I don't mind that. And I'll tell you, I like to do that a lot more than I like to go to doors myself. I've done both. Me and a buddy went out, and the first time we went out, I was going to every door, and he was recording, the information on like what happened or whatever. And we were so much less efficient. The next time we went out, I was the one driving and recording information, and he was the one going to the doors. Much more effective. We just did such a better job. So everybody's got a different role. Everybody's got something else that they do better, like do well, and they want to engage in. Whether that's, some people are fine like doing letter writing campaigns or sending in messages for candidates. I know that this is all candidate focused, but my point is, like, there are so many different roles that I think people can play based on what they like to do and what their interest level is, what they're interested in. We need to do a better job of engaging people around that. I think you talk about using AI. I think that would be a fun little thing to talk about, how to effectively use AI. Also, how not to trust AI. I made an AI mistake today where people were upset about this potential of Obergefell being overturned, and I was like, I commented on Leading Report. I was like, what are you talking about? There's nothing that the Supreme Court is looking to see that could potentially do that. Because before I did that, I was like, let me just double check. And so I used Grok to say, hey, what's going on with this? And Grok's like, no, they're not set to see anything. Well, they were. Grok was wrong and failed to do so. There are limitations on AI, and we still need to use our brains. And I failed in that instance.
A lot of people also don't understand how to use AI to parse data. So let's just say I go to a website and there's a bunch of emails for school board and there's teachers on there. I can take the metadata, paste it into Grok, and have every email all ready for me instead of clicking on each one to have to email separately. Right. Yeah. So I can take 4 seconds to gather all the emails of 50 different people that I want within a school district. And currently there's not a system in which you can get all those. So there's different ways that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. And the thing is, like, what people like to do, I'll get people. Did you ever see that video of the guy kicking the Portland porta potty toilet up and then putting his camera down, and you see all the freaking needles in there? Like, I get a lot of like, so I don't know. A bunch of us use the video, but it was someone in Portland that follows us on X. He was just like, kicks open this porta potty, freaking takes his camera, points it down. It's mounds of freaking needles all over the place. That guy, and I don't know who this person is, but you know what he enjoyed doing? He would enjoy taking a fucking video of this shitty ass place filled with needles. And we get the same with like Lewiston. Well, like, find what people want to do, what they're passionate about, and having them get material for us. Like, trying to hone in on that is huge. I feel like sometimes the GOP, or I just say GOP, but like conservatives, they hyper focus on to one thing and try to get everyone to do something Like, oh, we're doing this race, you need to do this one thing, instead of like letting people kind of like use their creative passion, or I don't even know. It's hard to put into words. Like, because I could feel it. I could feel that constriction, and I'll withstand it. I'm like, yep, I'll go to this thing. Sometimes it can be absolute torture. Like some of the stuff I go to and that I have to listen to is beyond torture. It's like in my brain, I'm going, I just want to go home. I just want to leave this. It's just not my style, right? But then there's no. But the thing is I've noticed that there's no mechanism in which they are trying to figure out what people want to see, hear, and catering to that. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean? It's like it's forced.
I mean, part of what I would say is like, I think there's a lot of things that we have to do because we know that they're worth doing, even if we don't like them and we don't enjoy them. So I think number one, there's that. I think I agree with you that we need to do a better job at creating opportunities for people to do things where they don't feel like it's a waste of their time. And but like, let's be clear, like you go to a lot of those things because you know it's not a waste of your time. You know that there's networking opportunity that will find other ways to be able to help move the movement forward. So anyway, so I think that there's that element that I think needs to be understood. Like, yeah, I mean, most of the people that are involved in the main GOP, I shouldn't say that. There's a significant portion of people that are involved in the main GOP that don't love the things that they do for the main GOP or for pushing back against the left, however you want to call it. But we do what we do because we know that it's necessary, right? Like, I can't tell you how many things I go to that are really, really painful to me, and I'm like, why am I here? Why is this still going on? Why has this not ended yet? I just want to go do something else. But I'm there not because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love being here, but because I know that we need to make sacrifices in order to be able to win. I'm shaking my screen, but in order to be able to win against these crazy people. And so like that, I do think we need to get better at making it easier for people to engage and get involved. But I also think people need to understand that, like, look, in the same way in which we didn't win the Civil War or any of the wars that we've been a part of without sacrifice, without people doing things that were actually literally killing, our people in order to be able to take the ground. Like, we're going to have to do some things that are uncomfortable in order to be able to win. And I think that people need to get better at that. If that makes sense.
Well, like when I go to a lot of any of these like events and stuff, there are moments where it's so awesome. Like and for like me, the best moments are when everyone's allowed to just hang out and chat, and you can see it. Everyone, like, the explosion of energy is when everyone can just hang out and talk with each other, because right now everyone's missing human connections because we've put so much energy into the internet that we've actually lost things. And I could see they're so desperate to talk and say like, hey, listen, I have a construction business, or I can do this at home. Like, people will come up to me and be like, oh, it's TheUnquirer. And they just want to tell me what they can do and ask for like how they can help. But when you're like shoved into these like quiet spaces where you just sit there and hear a lecture for 2 hours, and then everyone gets up and goes home because they just spent 2 hours and they don't want to spend any more time sitting there, I feel like that there's not an avenue for the right to just have a meetup spot or an event where there's no lecture. It's just people hanging out and building bonds and getting to know each other.
Well, if you're in Cumberland County, you know that we regularly do happy hours. So if you want to look for some fun, so Cumberland County Republicans, we are all about doing happy hours and doing more like socially oriented things to build relationships and stuff like that. So I think that generally speaking, at large, I think we need to get better at that, because I do think we need spaces. I mean, here it's almost like happy hour. Sometimes like you get a ton of people to come out, especially after Trump won. Oh my gosh, after he was inaugurated, February was like one of our most hopping happy hours that we've done, because people were just so happy and so excited. And sometimes, and they were like, it's, there's this brief period of time where people are like not ashamed of being a Republican, but also that's another nice thing about the happy hours down here, where there's so few Republicans by comparison to the rest of the state, that, having those spaces for people to get together and be able to speak freely and talk to other people who see the world the way they see it, is really encouraging to them. And so, I think that those types of spaces where there's not like a huge agenda, we had a boat cruise recently out in Naples. We had 3 gubernatorial candidates that were there: a House candidate, a U.S. House candidate, and a senatorial candidate. We didn't really give them much time to speak, though, because we didn't want speeches, right? And so we gave each of them 5 minutes, and us, the leadership, spoke a little bit. But it was like we hung out on a boat. We had some hors d'oeuvres. We drank some alcohol or whatever else people might have drank. And we had a good time and got to know one another and chatted and socialized. I think that type of stuff is really important, the networking piece. And I think, as to your point, sometimes when we're so focused on information in some of the meetings that we have, that we miss out on the networking that we need to do, the conversations, the side conversation. We're like, oh my gosh, this is going on here. We could go, those conversations need to happen.
Yeah. So, what's actually interesting is that going to the information ones feel 100 times better after I meet everyone first. So let's just say, because if I'm going there, I'm looking over, I'm like, oh, there's Chuck. I know this person over here. Here's Steve. And then I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. Let's all learn this together. That I think that there needs to be at least like maybe a 1-to-4 ratio of like meeting spot. Let's have a fall harvest, get a huge barn, get a bunch of food, everyone just to, potluck or whatever type thing. Like we need to have like bond connections. Like, I think that it used to be a norm before, and that it just over time, because of the internet, it's actually dissolved it. And then that is in itself is not being replaced. Like, I think that we could I bet you that we could get stuff to explode if we started maybe every quarter. We always talk about this. Everyone does. The number one thing I hear about from people, actually 2 things, is how can I help? Like, what can I do? And there should be like a week, monthly or bi-monthly or even quarterly meetup for just people on the right, not even just GOP or candidates, just people that are
not on the left.
Yes,
is the way to put it, right? So
yeah.
Pine Tree Patriots tried to put something together a while, like it
was the worst timing. It was
right, yeah.
Well, no, because it was during a storm. It was the day that there was something major going on with Trump.
Inauguration, maybe.
Yeah. So it was Trump's inauguration. It was during a snowstorm, and it was in Milo, which was about 2 hours from the average person. So it'd be a 4-hour trip in a snowstorm. That's the problem. It's like it has to. Unfortunately, being in Maine, the number one best area that we've ever found is within a 30-minute radius of Augusta. It's hands down, and we've tried it all over the state of Maine. The best place that we've ever had success anywhere has been around Augusta, because if someone's in Waterville or Bangor, they can make it to Augusta. If someone's in Southern Maine, they can make it to Augusta. If someone's in Northwest, they can make it down to Augusta.
So we got to plan this. I'm all for it. What place is going to host us?
Well, I guess we could. Maybe that's what we should do. We should put on the first event, and we're going to start creating a crew of people to help turn Maine red. Like we actually have we have the opportunity right now to flipping the state. Like this is what I've been bitching about for 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, just in case you're wondering, the House is wide open. Like we almost won the House anyway, and I think that there's a very strong probability that we're going to be able to win the House. It's open season. If we do the work, and if we don't win the House in the state of Maine, it's hard to have any hope, because it's open. We can win it. We just need to work for it. We need to get the right candidates. Then we need to support those candidates. And we need to do whatever our part is, whatever your part is, right? But it's that, at the very least, is something that we can and absolutely should win in 2026.
Should we go from restaurant to restaurant and make ourselves visible so people can make it more of an impact?
What do you mean? Like,
just say, have it at this restaurant or wherever, like Margaritas in Augusta. Right, like that, because that's a big place that has like a huge room you can show up to. Not a lot of places that you can just show up and fit like 20 people, 30 people, whatever the amount is.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we would have a pretty good showing of people. But yeah, I think, I haven't looked around in that area, so I don't really know. But Margaritas, I think if they've got a good spot, a good open like kind of networking spot, we could.
What about the Elks Club? And we just make it a permanent spot, and we make it a state town hall. Sounds, I guess, an oxymoron there, but It would be a state town hall every 3 months at the Elks Club, not the top level, the bottom level where there's kind of like the hangout area. It's a little bit more casual. And we do it every 3 months and just say, anyone that's not left, we don't even make it GOP. Literally, if you're just not left, we all meet up here and anyone can go. And that way people can make it every single 3 months. And we say, we're going to do this from now until we turn paint red. Or until Yeah,
we got to figure out. Well, tune in next week, and we will have a date for you. We've got to reach out to the Elks and figure out when we might be able to do that and what the cost would be, and then I wonder if there's a cost to rent it. But either way, we can figure that out. I'm not too worried about it.
And I don't mind. The thing is, if it's something I really like, I don't have children, and I don't have I don't have bills, so I can easily help chip in with that. But like, imagine we get a bunch of people and we can do different workshops. We could sit around with laptops and. So we could be like, hey, this is how you do AI stuff, right? And then you could have another group that's in there like, hey, let's do this thing. I'm totally down for this. I would, maybe we should just call it Make Maine Red or Turn Make Maine Great Again. Maybe it's too right wing. But the thing is that like we have a moment right now and we can start figure out what people's abilities and skills are. And we just start going all in. And well, and maybe like let's just say I know that there's a school board election for like Augusta. James Orr and or other people in that area could come in and just do a little speech and say, "Hey, we're doing a little." We can give maybe like a 15 to 30, maybe 15 to 20 minute time for anyone to make an announcement. They could submit it to us and say, "Hey, I'm doing something in Litchfield. Can you guys let me do a quick announcement?" We'll say, "Yeah, sure. We'll put you on." Anyone can speak. There's no like. Does that make sense? Just like
I would say we can bet. We can bet. We can bet. No. I'm just saying don't forget that there's a gubernatorial race coming up in there are about 12 Republican gubernatorial candidates, and if they decide to come and we give them time, I mean there's an hour gone.
We could just say there's 20 minutes. 20 minutes max in the beginning. No, for the total amount of time.
Total amount, yeah.
And then if someone wants to talk,
for
they can
5 minutes,
around.
5 minutes each, first come, first serve. 5 minutes each, first come, first serve. There we go.
Dude, open mic activism, dude. This would actually be pretty awesome.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to get off to do some other stuff before my next meeting, but with the Cumberland County Republican Committee executive team, I'm excited. I love meetings, don't we all? But we do it because we care and we need to fix our state. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, TheUnquirer, for everything you do. And we'll see you guys all here next week. And hopefully by then we'll have more detail on an event that we can do on a regular basis to encourage one another and get together in person to strategize. Because in person is so important. It really is. Like there's only so much like online. There's value in what we do here, obviously, but in person is where it's just